So, picture this. You sit down at your desk, right? You're totally ready to tackle this massive project. And then, poof, your motivation just completely vanishes into thin air. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are diving headfirst into a pretty profound psychological mystery. It literally feels like a hidden culprit just sneaked in and stole your drive right out from under you. We always blame ourselves, don't we? We think, oh, I just have zero willpower, or I'm just lazy. But what if I told you your brain has actually been hijacked? Today, we're going to treat this like an active crime scene. We're going to uncover the true suspect behind your procrastination and, most importantly, give you the exact tactical blueprint to take your brain back.
Now, let's look at the evidence. It's a paradox we have all experienced. Why on earth can you effortlessly scroll through social media for like 3 hours straight, but you absolutely fail to focus on your actual work for just 30 minutes? It makes no sense, right? Well, the answer really doesn't lie in a lack of willpower, and it is absolutely not sheer laziness. Actually, this intense resistance to hard work is deeply, deeply rooted in your brain chemistry. There is a very powerful neurotransmitter pulling the strings in the shadows here. And honestly, understanding how this chemical masterminds your behavior, that's the crucial first step to cracking this case and getting your focus back.
All right, let's meet our prime suspect, dopamine. Now, for years, pop culture has kind of fed us this lie, calling dopamine the pleasure chemical. But modern neuroscience tells a totally different story. Dopamine is actually the molecule of anticipation. It's the molecule of motivation. It's all about the chase. See, it spikes when you are about to get a reward, not necessarily when you actually get it. It's literally the chemical messenger in your brain screaming, go get that. It creates that craving, that massive urge to act. But if dopamine is just our natural, built-in motivator, how did it suddenly become the mastermind villain in our story of lost focus?
Well, to understand the crime, we kind of have to look at the backstory of the victim, your brain. Back in the day, human evolution meant dopamine was your ultimate survival mechanism. It got our ancestors off the couch or, out of the cave to hunt for food, find water, seek shelter. You put in the grueling physical work, and boom, your brain rewarded you with a nice, balanced hit of dopamine to keep you alive. But today your brain is constantly ambushed. I'm talking super stimuli everywhere, video games, endless pings and notifications, incredibly sugary junk food. They all trigger massive, completely unnatural spikes of dopamine. And the real kicker? They require almost zero effort. So this completely innocent survival mechanism, it's been totally short-circuited.
And that brings us to the motive behind your procrastination. See, when you procrastinate, you aren't just sitting there doing nothing. Your brain is actually running this subconscious split-second calculation. It's weighing instant gratification, which, remember, is low effort for an immediate dopamine hit, against a delayed reward, like, say, writing a complex report that takes a ton of effort for a payoff way out in the future. And because our modern environment has pushed your baseline dopamine level so unnaturally high, your brain fiercely resists the difficult task. It just calculates the effort versus the reward, and it defaults to the easy, immediate hit every single time.
So how do we crack this code? How do we fix the short circuit? You've probably heard whispers online about a dopamine detox or a dopamine fast. But let's interrogate this idea for a second and get to the truth. A dopamine detox is absolutely not about literally emptying dopamine from your brain. You need dopamine to literally stay alive and move your body. Instead, think of it as a highly targeted intervention to lower your tolerance to all those high-stimulus digital distractions we just talked about. It's about bringing down that artificially high baseline. By stepping away from the superstimuli, you're giving your brain's desensitized receptors a chance to recover, to reset. The ultimate goal here is to make everyday, productive tasks actually feel exciting and rewarding again.
Okay, let's talk about the escape plan. To successfully hit the emergency stop button on this hijack, you need a strict 24-hour reset. You can do this once a week or maybe just once a month. Now, there are 3 simple, but I warn you, highly challenging rules. Rule number 1, no digital screens, period. That means powering down the smartphone, the tablet, the computer, the TV, no social media, no streaming, basically zero digital noise. Rule number 2, no junk food. You have to evade those highly processed sugary foods and energy drinks that trigger those cheap chemical spikes. And rule number 3, you must engage exclusively in low-stimulus activities.
Now, I know what you're thinking. If I can't look at my phone or eat a donut for a full 24 hours, what on earth am I supposed to do? Well, you embrace the quiet. Here are your antidotes. You can read a physical book, write in a journal, practice meditating, or just go for a really long walk in nature. Honestly, it's also the absolute perfect time to just sit quietly and map out your future goals. These activities, they don't flood your brain with cheap dopamine. Instead, they give your neural pathways that silent, empty space they desperately need to heal. And look, it might feel unbelievably boring for those first few hours. But let me tell you, that boredom, That is exactly what healing feels like.
So once you've successfully survived the 24-hour reset, you need to build a solid defense system. Otherwise, you'll be dealing with a repeat offense, right back where you started. You have to rebuild your daily routine. First off, identify your specific triggers. Which apps are the prime suspects draining your attention? Next, create friction. Make those bad habits physically harder to access. Leave your phone in a totally different room while you work. Try adopting a strict do not disturb habit for the first 2 hours of your workday. You can even deploy a tactic called dopamine pairing, which means you only allow yourself a small treat like listening to your favorite podcast while you're doing a really tedious chore. And finally, you must establish strict delayed rewards.
But what about in the moment? Like, how do you take action when your brain's resistance is at its absolute peak? You use a brilliant psychological loophole, the 2-minute rule. Look, getting started is universally the hardest part of literally anything, because that's when your brain fights back the hardest. But if you tell your brain, hey, we're only going to do this for 2 minutes, you completely bypass that resistance. It drastically lowers the barrier to entry. If it's a quick email, just do it. If it's a massive essay, commit to writing just one single sentence. It sounds crazy, but once you break the friction of starting, natural momentum almost always takes over. To truly and permanently rewire your brain, you have to flip the script on how you live your life. You have to train your brain to actually enjoy hard work again. And you do that by strictly gatekeeping your dopamine. You give yourself a small, controlled reward, whether that's checking social media, playing a video game, watching an episode of your favorite show, but only after you've completed your difficult tasks for the day. No exceptions. You are effectively teaching your brain that the dopamine hit must be earned through real effort, just like our ancestors did when they had to hunt for their food. You are restoring the natural balance of work and reward.
We've investigated the crime. We've uncovered exactly how modern superstimuli hijack our natural motivation, and we've laid out the tactical escape plan to detox and rebuild our focus. You now know the truth. You aren't lazy. You just needed to take back control of your neurochemistry. By managing your triggers, embracing friction, and delaying your gratification, you hold the keys to your own potential. Your brain is no longer a victim. It's a finely tuned tool in your hands. So, what will you achieve with it today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.